Aloha. Welcome to Just Talking 24, page 74. Um, let's get away from the controversy. Yeah, I hope I stirred up a lot of hornets on what I said. And please check what I said. Fact check me. See if I lied. In fact, I was just watching a special on the Yamato battleship. Whew, what a beast. But anyway, back to this week. And this week, I'm going to talk about something we all love to talk about: business. Don't you love to talk about that? Don't you wake up saying, "Oh man, I just can't wait to get to a business seminar"? But anyway, what happened was, well, we live in the United States, and you know that a country's economic power is judged by its GNP, gross national product, yeah, or gross domestic product, whatever it's called, GDP, and it's what the commerce that a country does. Yeah, and there are in business. There's three basic levels. You have primary, secondary, and tertiary. Primary is the go out and get the materials. Whether you're a farmer, you're an oil driller, you're a miner, whatever. You get the raw material. Secondary is you take the material and you do something with it. You refine it, you produce a new product, making plastics, stuff like that. And then tertiary, sell it, distribute it to the masses for a fee, of course. And a business doesn't have to just stay in one. It can run all three. So don't, you just got to know where the cutoffs are. And anyway, I'm going to deal with the tertiary. America has a system called free enterprise. In other words, anybody, if you follow the rules and regulations, yeah, you, you got to follow the rules, folks. You just, yeah, selling smack on the corner is not legal, right? So, yeah, so you can't do that. But anybody can sell. Yeah, it's not exclusive. Um, Unless, well, even pharmaceuticals. And if you got the money, you got the capital, you got the smarts too. You can sell. You can get into the drugs. You get Pfizer, and we got Moderna. But funny, most of our pharmaceutical companies are European. Yeah, it takes a lot of capital to start up a pharmaceutical. Um, my wife's peritoneal dialysis is worldwide. It comes from Baxter. Well, they're Vantix now, but they are worldwide. When the hurricanes hit the Carolina coast, they wiped out one of their producing plants. So I was getting product from Thailand. I was getting product from China. I was getting product from Sweden. I was getting product from all around the world, and it's it, it's the same yet it's different. Each had its their own idiosyncrasies on the packaging. Like the Chinese one came in written all in Chinese. Oh, I really could read the instructions on that. I'm so glad the numbers are universal. 4.25 is 4.25 no matter what. But anyway, yeah. So the companies in America, you're free to do whatever you want. You can start up whatever legal company you want, and this is true for most countries. Even China. China, you can start up your own company, but you got to really play ball with the government. Something like America, we're becoming the Chinese, folks. But I did not say that. No, no. 你好吗？很好，谢谢你. Anyway, uh, so in America, we run free enterprise, and part of the free enterprise, that is that third tertiary thing that I want to talk about today. And it's called customer service. Yeah, it's something that it's a phrase. We've heard it all the time, but we're seeing less and less and less of it. Yeah, we're being turned into numbers. We're not customers anymore. We're just a number. And the bigger the company gets, it's appearing like the less, the more of a number you are and the less of a person you are. Yeah. And that's what they don't see. That's what they don't cover. I'll give you two examples, okay, of when you're a number and you're not a person. Way back, this was back in 1987 or 86, when the first cell phones were hitting Hawaii. There was the brick. Yeah, you remember the brick? Okay. And there was this thing called a transceiver. And it was a box about yay big, about that, that wide and about that thick. It took a video camera battery. And it also had a plug-in. You could plug into your cigarette lighter. This is for your car. It took over the car phone, and I had a car phone in my truck. And it was not cheap, but neither was the car phone. The car phone was expensive. And the car phone signal is really bad, but our first cell signals were a little better, but not really, but it was the way of the future. And so when I bought when I bought the phones, because I originally had like I told you, the car phones, I hooked up with the local phone company, General Tel, GT&E, and all was hunky dory. Got the phones and everything from them, and they weren't, like I told you, they weren't cheap. I believe the brick was 4,500, and the car phone was 3,700, something like that. Anyway, I paid over 8 grand for my communication system. But I got my customer. I could serve my customers better. See, I was brought up on customer service. My parents were the local telephone company, and they strove to me, customer service, customer service. You give good customer service, you'll get loyal backing. You get loyal following, your business will prosper. That's the way. It's really simple. And so I got the phones from GT&E, and I didn't know about the batteries. These were the early rechargeable batteries, right? And the batteries, they lasted in the brick maybe 40 minutes, and it took 5 hours to charge or something like that. But see, I didn't use the brick. I had bought out this other company, and the guy that I bought it out from, we stayed really close. Really, I mean, yeah, he was a mentor to me. So when I got the phone for my truck, I told him, "Hey, you like on brick?" Because in those days, to walk around with a brick was status. You were somebody. You know what I mean? You had a phone, baby. You didn't have a pager that you had to go look for a phone. You had the phone. So I told him, "Hey, you like on phone you can move around." And it wasn't that he was going to use a lot of it. And only 40 minutes, that's what he complained to me. He goes, "Hey, this sucker don't last a long time." So I went to the salesman. The salesman said, "Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. They only last about 40 minutes, and then, so you just gotta, it's also was very expensive. It was like 32 cents a, 32 cents a minute or something. It was really expensive. Yeah. And so it was for two things. It gives you your communication, your portable communication, but you pay for it. It wasn't cheap. And so it's to like give you a leash. You get so much, and that was it. So I told him, well, I told him that's how it is. Well, after about a year, the battery went out. Yeah, the battery just quit. I don't know. I don't know why. Okay. So my salesman said, "Okay, you know what? I'll give you guys a couple of batteries for the phone." I said, oh, so I told him, hey, good deal. Now you can talk even longer. But he wasn't using that. He wasn't using it that much. But and the one in my truck, I know it used a video camera battery, but that battery would recharge because it's plugged into my. It's running off my 12 volt from my truck, and so I didn't need a battery because I rarely took it out. It stayed in my truck. That was my truck's phone. And so I told him thank you. We got the batteries, and we're all happy, happy, happy. Well, what happened was he left. He left the company. And after he left, I received I don't, yeah, it was a bill from GT&E saying that I owed something like 400 something dollars. And this is above and beyond my monthly, my monthly usage. So I called him up. I said, what's this 400 something dollars, 468 or something like that. And he said, oh, it's for the two batteries that you bought. I said, I didn't buy them. They were given to me, by Joe or whatever his name was. And they said, oh, okay, well, we'll get back to you. So they got back to me. And what they said was, no, you have to pay the bill. So I told him, well, let me talk to your supervisor. This was not on the cell phone, by the way. This is on our landline. So I went on, and she came on, and I explained the situation. And she says, well, let me look into it. I said, okay, fine, look into it, get back to me. And she did. The next day, she called me back. She said, well, we reviewed everything, and you owe the money. I said, okay. So I went down to, and it was just down, just like a mile down the road. And so I went down there, and I told her that, okay, are you sure you checked everything? I said, Joe gave me the two batteries. Well, he wasn't supposed to. I said, but wasn't he an agent of your company? Wasn't he an employee of your company? Well, yes. I said, was he like a private contractor sublet to your company? No. So he was an employee. So what he says, being an agent of your company, what he says goes, right? Well, no, he didn't have authorization to do that. I said, well, whose fault is that? But nope, they were steadfast. They wanted their $468, whatever. I said, fine. I had my checkbook. I wrote a check. I gave them the checkbook. I went 2 blocks down the road, and they had this new company called Honolulu Cellular. And I explained to the guy my problem, and he says, well, just come with us. And we can give you a better deal. And you know what? We'll supply you. We'll supply you the battery. Because what they didn't realize was that I had a $14,000 a year account. Yeah, I was paying between 14 and 16,000 a year for my cell phone use. And so by that afternoon, I was with Honolulu Cellular, and I had a brand new phone number and everything. And sure enough, I get a call the next day from that same supervisor. And she wants to talk. And I told her, I don't have time for you because I'm working. I'm trying to make money so I can pay my cell phone bill. And she goes, no, I really have to talk to you. I said, okay. So I made an appointment like a couple of days later, set aside. I said, I'm going to set aside in half an hour. You got half an hour. And so I walked into the office, and she said, I'm so sorry. It was an oversight and all this kind of crap, right? I told her, when I told you to review my account, that should be part of it. You guys don't know what's happening. All you can see is the dollar bill, that $468. But what you didn't see was how much business I give you every year. Well, you lost it, and you don't get it back. You can't say, I'm sorry, and make it up. Okay? Anything else you got to say? Thank you. And I left. That was and that was back in the 80s, customer service. Well, come forward to what happened last week. Amazon. I deal with Amazon. I like Amazon. And my wife has to take magnesium. She has to keep her magnesium levels up. And so she needs a magnesium supplement. But because of her past history with digestive problems and everything, ulcers and all this kind of crap, she needs a special magnesium called magnesium lactate. And what I found out, okay, when the doctor originally prescribed it, uh, she sent it to the local pharmacy. And I said, no, 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 send it to my prescription plan. I have a mail order prescription plan. Send it to them. So she sent it to them, and they came back to me saying that they can't fill it because it's an over-the-counter drug. I go, huh? But I don't find it on the shelves. And it's one of those that it's an over-the-counter, but the doctor has to order it. Yeah, you know why, and that why I think they do that. Only certain types of people can have to take it. Once you make it exclusive like that for only a certain type of people, there goes the price, folks. Let me tell you, okay, 60 pills cost me $80. 60. So I went to Amazon and I said, hey, do you have this? Take a chance. One company had it. And it was for 100 pills. It was only $50. Big, that's a good deal. That's half price. But, being my wife, being who she is, she waits until the last minute to tell me that she needs it. And so I had to put a rush on it. And the rush was half of the price of the prescription. Yeah, it was $25 extra. But I'd get it here in 2 days. So this is last week, Thursday. So I'd get it by Saturday. It was Wednesday, and I get it by Saturday. I ordered on the 21st. And they said, you'll get it on the 23rd. And, no, wait, 21st was Thursday. Sorry. I'm all confused. But this is like, I'm doing this at 2 o'clock in the morning. But they said, no, you'll get it by Saturday. And so, okay, fine, set. Well, I get an email it was either Friday or was Friday, saying that the prescription will be late. It's going to be held up. It's delayed. I said, no, do you still want it? Well, yeah, I still want it, just that I assumed that because you can't rush it, the rush cost would be removed from the sales, right? Sales price, because it's no longer valid, does not apply. So I just assumed that. Well, anyway, I was able to get the magnesium lactate locally. So that was okay. I just had to pay the extra, right? But so I called. So you still gonna get. I had shot out an email back to the seller saying that okay, yeah, I get a refund on the rush delivery, right? Because you guys ain't doing it. And then I get an email back from them saying that we got the order, we filled it, we sent it out on FedEx. You're still gonna be charged. We cannot refund you. I said, wait a minute. If it's out on FedEx 2 days, I should have gotten it already. Something does not mix right. And so I got in touch with Amazon. Amazon said, wait until the package comes to you and then get back to us. And so the package did arrive. The package came in yesterday. No, excuse me, Wednesday. I'm recording this on Friday. It came in on Wednesday. So it took about a week to come in. And so I got back to Amazon and I said, okay, this is I explained to them the situation. And they said, and this is just a minute. They put me on hold for a couple of minutes. They came back on. They said, we're going to refund you, keep the pills, but we're going to refund you the entire amount. The entire amount. The full $77 and whatever. I said, no, 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 no. That's not what I want. I just want a refund on my rush, my rush cost, that extra $25. That's all I want. They said, no, we'll give you an entire refund. We're just going to put on a gift card on your account. Okay. That was a pleasant surprise. And I'm not saying go out there and scam them. That was not my intent. My intent was to get a refund on my rush, that $25. Yeah. But that's what they did. Now that's customer service, folks. You don't see that every day. And that's why I stay with Amazon. I've never had a problem where they could not fix it or they would not fix it. They try. And I give Jeff Bezos a gold star for that one. Nowadays, look at me, I follow X. And on X, all I hear is servers saying, "Where's my tip? Where's my tip? Where's my tip? Where's my tip?" They think like the tip is automatic. To get businesses, if you get 8 or more people, we automatically charge you 25% more. I said, okay, fine. So we split up 10, 5 and 5, or 6 and 4. Or we got 12, 6 and 6. Whatever. Shoot, no problem. No, but you guys together. No, we're not. We want 2 separate tables. What is happening, folks? I mean, when I had my towing business, I was doing 6 figures a year. And back in the 80s and a sole proprietorship, that's not bad. Okay. But I cannot fathom doing, 9, 10, 11, 12, and more figures a year. That's out there, man. You know me, I'm simple. Keep it simple, right? 6 was bad enough. But these kids growing, it's like I give you a glass of water and you're supposed to give me a reward for doing it. They don't understand what tip is. A tip is a gratuity. It's like if you did something that was above and beyond what you're supposed to do, you get a little extra. You get a reward for doing it. You weren't asked to do it. You did it out of the goodness of your heart. You get a tip. Very friendly, always like in the restaurants before. Like, how you guys doing? Yeah, you need more water, you need more this, you need more that, you need anything else? Stuff. They constantly come in. They make you feel like you actually wanted there. They don't just drop food and they leave, and then they drop a bill after. Well, now in the Orient, they got robots, right, doing that. Those robot carts come over, you just grab the food you want. Yeah, because tipping is not allowed. I don't know. But yeah, the largest cost for most businesses is labor. I understand that. I do. But see, in order to remain competitive and for people, the owners to live the lifestyle they want to live, they got to cut all over the place. And so where they cut the labor, so the kids coming in, they're not employees, they're numbers. A lot of these places you hear them, oh, we're like family, but you treat them like crap. You treat your family like crap, then you get what you deserve. But yeah, that's customer service, and the kids don't know what customer service is. That's the sad thing, and I see it more and more every day. They don't know. They think they're doing you a favor by serving you. And I never got that. I always was so grateful to my patients. That's why, not patient, my patients too. My patients were my customers, and that's why when I was in my business, I got sick and I couldn't give the kind of service that I would expect me to give. You know what I mean? When you have a service, you want to give a certain type of, a certain level of service. And I could not deliver that level. And so I had to sell. I said, no, I can't do it. I'm going to sell the company, hopefully to somebody that can do it. And I was wrong. Yeah. But That's another story. But yeah, and I was getting complaints for like years after I saw, my old customers. Oh, how come you sold and all this kind of stuff? You know, you feel sad. And I just told them I got sick. I just drove myself to the ground and my body just gave out. And they go, oh, too bad, yeah, because I guess I gave really good service. That's why I was doing six figures a year. Yeah, by myself, I towed over 4,000 cars a year, and I had gross sales in the six figures. No other one man operation could boast those things. And it wasn't. It was hard work. It was a lot of work. Like I told you, I put 110,000 miles on my truck every year. And this rock only 44 miles across and 38 or 39 miles up and down. Yeah, it's a tiny little rock. Yeah, you just keep moving, man. International Harvester motors are good. The diesels, you gotta take care, but they're good. They go forever. But it's customer service. That's the basis of any company. And the kids today don't know it. They turn you turn into a number. Well, look at the companies. The more money you make, the more insignificant the person, I think, the individual customer gets. And they become a part of a group, the demographics of your company. And, then you start, putting them into theories, and you start putting them into graphs, and you start putting them but they end up not being human. And like I said, Amazon, I can't say enough about them, really. I did not expect them to do that, and I don't plan on them doing that. But I do stay with them because they do that. Yeah, and I hope Bezos doesn't, you know, doesn't change. I hope it doesn't change. But like I said, once he's gone, who knows, right? But he's younger than me, so odds are I will beat him to that line, the finish line. Oh, but that's what I want to talk about today: customer service, and gratuities. I don't go out eat. They expect tips at drive-in. Take out. Yeah. When you pay your bill with your card, what kind of tip you gonna put? For what? For doing their job. That's like, me walking up to a cop. Yeah, here's $20. Thanks for, protecting me. Yeah. Or walk up to anybody. Hey, thanks for not robbing the bank today. Yeah, here's 10, Just gimme, 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 gimme. Donate, donate, donate. Go fund me, go fund me, go fund me. Oh, that's another racket. Go fund me. Yeah. When it first started, I checked it out. And what is it? 5% of your donation goes to GoFundMe. Everybody's in it for the dollar, folks. The lisi. That's what the Chinese call a lisi. Japanese go okane. Hawaiians go kala. That's one of the first words you learn. How you say money? Oh, mucho dinero. But anyway, hope your Labor Day was your Labor Day. Memorial Day was good. Summer has started, folks. The little darlings are going to be out of school. And I put an emphasis on that. That D on the darling should have hurt your ear. But I hope your summer is great. Hope your week is great. Like, subscribe, and tell your friends. And next week is gonna be misdirection. Na ohia odea, No, that was one of the jokes that only the locals can catch on, because that's pigeon. You know, this tree over here. Now this tree is called the ohia tree, and it's OHIA, ohia, and it's not to be confused with the odea tree. Ohia, it means over here. Odea, over there. But yeah, that's a joke that the tour drivers used to laugh. used to do. In fact, when my wife was working for the tour company, uh, I gave this guy for his birthday a ginger lay. What it was, a piece of ginger root, and you drill a hole and you put a string through it, you put it across over his lie. What is that? I say, on ginger lay. I go, double ginger, you get two piece. Or you can get your one piece, break it in half, and put them in, and you get double ginger lay. And they loved it so much they used it. You know, okay. Now you owe me royalties. No. But anyway, have a great week, folks. And ahui ho, malamapono. And from my heart to yours, with very much love. Aloha. Be good and give good service. Service. Bye bye.